So I just learned this really cool Chinese phrase that's called chiku, which means to eat bitterness. And essentially it means, so I make sure I say this correctly, to persevere through hardship without complaints, or even to suffer. All right. There's some pros and cons to this style of living. You can eat bitterness if you want, but I would not like it for you on a regular basis. The way I see this happening in people's lives is when somebody or something is happening in your world and you don't like what they're doing and you just kind of hold your tongue. Actually, men in my world call this being patient. Every time I hear that phrase, I'm very patient. They essentially mean they swallow their bitterness and they hold it right here and they don't say a word, but it shows up later. It's not like it's gone. So let's not pretend that bitterness just kind of goes away somewhere. And so where does this happen? Where I see it happening in relationships is where people are making sacrifices essentially for the relationship without any acknowledgement for the sacrifice that they're making. So if you are in a co-parenting situation where you both divorced, but you have a new family that you're trying to create together, and you severely disagree with your partner's way of handling things with their kids around the house, being patient, or chiku, eating your bitterness, would look like not saying anything, being pretty disgruntled about it, feeling like you're taking it on the chin again and again about the way things are being handled, and then it's showing up later through iciness and the way that you treat people and the tension you create in the household. And I gotta tell you something, we all feel that tension. It's not like you're hiding it. So, my challenge to you all is twofold, actually. One is, if you're eating bitterness, how can you find a way to be a little more honest with your partner and vulnerable? So no, I don't want you to do it in a rage of you never do this and we never do this, because that's not a way to get closer to what you're looking for in a relationship. It would look like saying, I'm struggling with this. In the co-parenting situation, it might look like, maybe we could come up with some ideas for how we do this together. I understand they're your kids and I want to respect what you're doing with your kids. And there's some things in the house that I feel like it would be nice if we found a way to do this differently. In addition, there are situations where you do need to make sacrifices for a relationship, but the difference is when somebody makes a sacrifice, they need to be deeply acknowledged for the fact that they're doing that. Not everybody gets their way in relationships. That's kind of the tough shit of relationships, that sometimes you get what you want and sometimes you don't. But when somebody has sacrificed for you, the way to keep from eating shit or eating bitterness is to deeply appreciate the fact that somebody did that sacrifice for you. And for also, if you're the one who is making the sacrifice, you need that acknowledgement from your partner too. But they don't know if you don't tell them. That's the part where not talking about it is a real issue. So for more tips, you can like and subscribe. Also, if you would like to see me and learn more about how to avoid eating bitterness, please submit a contact form at therapistinstlouis.com.